Killed! He was such a good man. How could anyone be so brutal? Look at him. He is barely recognizable now. How could any of God's children be responsible for that?
They were evidently unworthy children, Reverend. Now do please try to calm yourself and focus, because we will need your assistance. Do you have any idea as to the motive behind this?
I haven't had time to do an inventory, but nothing appears to have been stolen. And anyway, His Excellency didn't own anything of great value. I don't know what else I can tell you.
Note this down, please, Doctor.
Doctor? But you aren't the police?
No, Reverend. I am Sherlock Holmes, and this is Dr. Watson. We are here at the request of the Bishop.
In that case, I must ask you to leave, and not to touch anything. I must get in touch with the authorities without further delay.
Reverend, when the inspectors of Scotland Yard find themselves at a dead end, which they quite often do, I assure you, then they turn to me for help. If you will allow us to continue our investigation, then you shall have the answers to all of your questions.
Out of the question! I don't even know you! I'm going to call the police, whether you like it or not.
It would be better for everyone, Reverend, if you kept your temper. Watson, are you taking notes? This affair promises to be a complex one. Therefore, we must not overlook the slightest detail.
Yes, Holmes. I am keeping a meticulous set of notes. I have created a very clever deduction board. One thing we can be sure of at the moment is that this crime was not for gain. The Reverend has informed us that nothing valuable was stolen, and indeed, it would seem that the Bishop had nothing of any worth to take.
Very good, Watson. Do continue.
His stomach is covered in scratches. Quite evidently, they weren't made recently.
So, these wounds were not made by his murderers. The fingers have been crushed and violently struck. The fingers have been crushed and violently struck. His forearms have been ripped. Pieces of skin have been torn off. What do you think, Watson?
I'd say that he was eaten alive. Yet I've noticed a curious degeneration of the skin tissue around the wounds. His chest has been lacerated, I would say, with a very sharp and fine blade. You can see by his expression that he suffered terribly.
His mouth is covered in blood, and I can make out strips of skin between his teeth. My dear friend, everything points to this man having gnawed at his own forearms.
That's unbelievable, Holmes.
A piece of rope that was used to tie up that poor man.
This poor man was tied just below the knees.
To stop him from walking, certainly, but mostly to free his feet.
His feet have been burned.
My first impression is that he wears a size 9 shoe.
You? But what does it matter, Holmes?
A finger. Apparently, it doesn't belong to the Bishop of Knightsbridge.
How dreadful.
These burns are terrible.
My God, Holmes, this man was horribly tortured.
Something is missing here.
Oh, yes? And what might that be?
His shoes. Watson, his shoes are missing. There is blood on this paperweight. This paperweight was used to crush the victim's fingers.
A broken bottle of whiskey. However, the Bishop of Knightsbridge was known for his sobriety.
A bottle of whiskey. I can make out fingerprints stained with blood and dirt.
It would seem that the brutes who tortured the bishop to death were intoxicated with alcohol. A whip?
No, it is a discipline for self-flagellation. This metal rod is for fastening the chilies. It's a cilice designed to bruise the person wearing it. The bishop wore it as repentance. This very pious man must have had the habit of mortifying his flesh as a means of repentance. Reverend, I'm missing something, an implement with which to open this chest. Could you tell me where to find it?
No! Go to the devil!
What are you afraid of, Reverend? What is inside the chest?
I'm not afraid of anything. In fact, I do have the necessary implements, but if I have to give them to anyone, it will be to a representative of the law and no one else.
A surgical scalpel covered in blood. There isn't any doubt the wounds on the bishop were administered with this scalpel.
Closed. The veranda door hasn't been forced. Strange. Reverend, might I have the key?
No! You have no authority here. Let me call the police.
Perhaps we should listen to him, Holmes.
Perhaps you should let me get on with this, Watson. This door has not been forced. Where does it lead, Reverend?
To His Excellency's room. There is just a mattress and a stool.
The bishop's bedroom. It is very austere. Nothing in particular here. It is impossible to get out. The picture of Peregrine Maitland, commander of the infantry brigade of Her Majesty's Guards at Waterloo.
The Bishop of Knightsbridge has the same name as his ancestor, an illustrious family.
You have no right to search here.
What do you think, Holmes?
Watch where you're putting your feet, Watson. Have you noticed these prints upon the ground?
Well, yes, those muddy marks.
See here, Watson. Footprints can often provide more vital information than the very best of informants.
Yes, if you know how to make them talk, that is.
It's child's play, Watson. We will begin by excluding the contaminating prints, which are yours and mine from where we came in, and those of our dear Reverend who was so impatient to call the police. Size 9. Size 9. Size 9. Size 9. Size 9.5. Size 9.5. A fragment of stone. Peculiar. This print came from an expensive pair of shoes, and it seems recent. It is not a laborer's shoe. Hobnail boots like those worn by laborers. Well-worn shoes with an odd pattern on the soles. Hobnail boots like those worn by laborers. Perfect. We now know that there were 3 crooks. Strange but true. One of the crooks was wearing a different pair of shoes when he left here. Therefore, we have 3 men who came in and left again, but one of them was wearing a different pair of shoes from the ones which he came in with.
So, all we have to do is look for a workman who likes Italian shoes.
A broken file and blood near the neck.
What a strange smell. Phew. Chemical components, I think.
This stove is filled to overflowing. Closed. Let us look at our deduction board, Watson. Perfect. It is evident that the Bishop of Knightsbridge's killers were after something specific, and that they did not find it. Reverend, I shall ask you one more time. Open the chest. The item they were seeking must still be inside. It is unlikely that they will let this matter rest. They will most certainly return to finish what they started.
And I'm telling you once more, the chest is locked and shall remain so.
Very well. We have reached an impasse. You are a stubborn man, Reverend. Watson, accompany our friend to the police station and return with Inspector Baines. Baines and no one else. I shall wait for you here. Go! Alone at last. Now I can continue my investigation. I need something. This lock should be easy to pick. Let's see. That's not right. Start again. That's not right. Start again. There we are. It is simplicity itself. There isn't anything much in this room. It must be used as a reading or meditation room. This inkwell was tipped over recently. Apparently, someone wanted to hide this statue. This horse resembles a large chess piece. There is a message underneath this statue. Let's see. This message was written by a woman, but for whom was it intended? Interesting, this chess game. An ink stain. An ink stain, quite fresh. This stain is just on the edge of the rug. Let's see. There is nothing on the floor, yet the ink must have soaked through the rug. The ink stain on the floor comes from the ink on the rug, but they are not in the same place. Someone has moved the rug recently. That is curious. There is something strange on the floor. Certain stones have been marked out, just like a chessboard. That is curious. There is something strange on the floor. I need something. That's not right. Start again. That's not right. Start again. That's not right. Start again. That's not right. Start again.